So Tom and I were extremely fortunate to attend the IRE conference this year, which was held in New Orleans in June. There's around 800 journalists from all around the world who attend over about 3.5 days. The conference includes about 150 workshops and panels with sessions on how to investigate certain issues or classes on how to use new technology to dig deeper into a story.
It's a bit tall for me. Accessing public records was a major theme of the conference, and for us it was probably the most eye-opening part. Covering politics here in Victoria, I find it doesn't take long to realise how restrictive our freedom of information laws are. Every incoming government seems to promise FOI reforms, as we've probably all heard before, and yet journalists do really struggle to access basic information that is obviously in the public interest. In New Orleans, it seemed that American journalists that we met at the conference really didn't realise how lucky they were. There are websites where reporters can dig up the entire criminal history of someone they're investigating within seconds, or there are sites where they can track down the owner of a vehicle simply by just having the licence plate. For us, this probably raised a few questions about privacy, but it also wasn't uncommon for journalists to win access to text messages sent by politicians about all manner of issues without cabinet and confidence type restrictions. Made me think, who knows what we could uncover here if we had similar levels of access. In terms of professional development, we attended sessions that provided all sorts of practical advice. One of my favourites was listening to David Ho, who's the Wall Street Journal mobile editor, and he ran through 50 apps that he said every reporter needed to have on their phone. The free conference Wi-Fi was great because I spent a lot of time downloading all these apps for the next half an hour. There was an app that you guys should all find that basically lets you take a photo of a document and it will immediately turn it into text for you, which for anyone who likes working with documents, it's a major victory. He even showed off an app that used augmented reality to take a photo of a plane in the sky, and it would then figure out what airline and what flight number it was, which is just a pretty incredible tool. So we picked up a hell of a lot from that session.
If there was a buzzword for the entire conference, it was data, or data, as they call it. Most of the journalists I spoke to believe data to be the future of journalism and the backbone of any big investigation. And spurred on by their enthusiasm, I spent half a day doing Excel classes, learning how to sort and filter stats. Having Tom there as well, with the two of us, there was too many sessions that you couldn't go to it all on your own. So we would often, in the morning, discuss what we wanted to go to and then say, okay, afterwards, let's meet and we'll compare notes and I'll tell you about it and you tell me about the other one. So it was really good to have somebody there who you could rely on to chase up things that you didn't get a chance to do. One of the sessions that I really found useful and interesting was given by Julian Scher, who is a senior producer of The Fifth Estate, one of Canada's major investigative programs. He spoke about interview techniques and said that a lot of time journalists focus on preparation and forget about interview strategy. He said too many interviews were ruined because the journalists didn't know where they were going, and that we should plan out how much time is going to be spent on the 3 sections that should exist in the interview: information, emotion, and accountability, preferably in that order. He said if any journalist came back to his office and said, oh, it was a bad interview, oh, the person just didn't want to open up, that was not acceptable. And in your preparation, you need to plan for somebody being particularly shy or difficult and know enough about them to get around those factors and ask smarter questions to get the answers you need. He showed some really terrific examples of when journalists asked long-winded questions and the subject would just jump on the last thing that the journalist had said and ignored the initial question. And aside from planning specific questions, he spoke about when your subject begins to wander and the ability to bring them back to what you had originally asked. He showed footage of CNN's Jake Tapper interviewing Donald Trump, where Tapper pressed Trump more than 20 times on whether he was invoking racism with his comments about a Mexican judge. And no matter how many times Trump tried to get away, Tapper would bring him back to the original question, and he eventually got what he needed. All of this, I understand, is basics for seasoned journos, but for someone like me, I'm a cadet at HWT, and so it's really great for me to hear this kind of information coming from senior people like that. In my job covering breaking news, there's often not the luxury of time to really prepare for an interview, but Julian's tips were something that I really thought would be great for me to keep in the bank for when those sort of interviews do arise.
I also attended a session on management techniques, which was rather appropriately called Management Just Say No. This was presented by editors from the Wall Street Journal, Chicago Tribune, and the Centre for Investigative Reporting. As a relatively inexperienced reporter, it was a really good chance to learn how veteran editors judge pitches and ideas. They each started at a similar point, which I really got a lot from, which was urging reporters to focus on a question rather than getting fixated on a noun, an issue, a topic, but really trying to nail down a question that they were trying to answer. And very early on, they said they encouraged their reporters to consider how the story would eventually be told, what characters would be strong, what documents and data and audio could be used to present a really engrossing package for their audience. I think listening to these award-winning editors helped me put me in the shoes of my bosses, I suppose if only for an hour, to sort of further refine how I tackle the investigations that I get to do here in Melbourne.
Some of the other really inspiring moments in New Orleans came from some of the guest speakers. The keynote address was given by Sheila Coronel, who discussed two recent investigations as the kind of effects that journalists can have, Panama Papers and AP's seafood from slaves. And it was sort of difficult to comprehend sitting amongst these journalists who are swimming in Pulitzer Prizes, and my brain kept switching between, oh, I can't wait to get back to work, I'm so inspired, and feeling like I will never be as good as some of these people. But it really gave me the chance to think that this is something that I could do one day. Coronel finished her speech by saying that she is optimistic that if reporters continue to shine a light on wrongdoing, the world can become a more informed and better place.
And learning about the Panama Papers and seafood from slaves, learning about how that came together was really eye-opening. And one of the biggest takeaways for me was this real culture of collaboration in American journalism. Even on a smaller scale, it didn't seem uncommon for a network affiliate TV station to team up with a local university to tell a story, or for a national newspaper to be working with a non-profit philanthropic newsroom. In Australia, I don't think this happens anywhere near as much, obviously with some notable exceptions, the work of Four Corners with Fairfax, for example. And while it's true that we don't have the same level of not-for-profit journalism here, it struck me as an area that does have real potential for growth. I think in our smaller media fishbowl, it's understandable that commercial imperatives do take priority, but many American journalists seem to take the attitude that breaking important stories is the most important priority. I think sharing expertise and resources was proven to be a valuable way to shine a torch on an issue when you might not have the battery power to do it yourself.
The session that the two of us were probably most excited about and talked about a lot before it happened was a behind-the-scenes session with the Boston Globe Spotlight team, which was like a rock concert for journos. People were so excited, including us. The reporters and the now executive editor of the Washington Post, Marty Barron, spoke and were really inspiring. The way that they spoke about journalism and the investigation was something that I'll never forget.
Marty Barron spoke to us just a couple of days after Donald Trump had banned Washington Post reporters from attending his campaign events. In response, Barron had published a withering editorial that I'm sure many of you have seen about Trump's threat to the role of the free press. It was hard not to be inspired as he told the conference about his determination to continue the Post's tough but fair coverage on Trump. And I think it was equally pleasing that, unlike our new American friends, Bridge and I, weren't facing the serious possibility of the Donald actually leading our country. In closing, I'd just like to thank the Press Club for giving me the opportunity to attend the conference. It was definitely an experience that I won't soon forget. And thank you also to the family of David Wilson, who has sponsored this award for several years. I understand David was the first journalist from Australia to attend the IRE conference, and yet it was certainly a real privilege to get the chance to follow in his footsteps.
I'd just like to thank the Press Club and the Vizard Foundation who sponsored my award. It's great to see that the Press Club's been able to expand to let students attend this conference as well. It's something that I will always remember and be able to refer back to for my entire career. Thank you very much.